Hey everyone, Sindhu here. So today I wanted to talk about the difference between the concepts of equity and equality. And I'm doing that because, first of all, these words I think are current buzzwords in the diversity and inclusion space. And I've also seen them being used both incorrectly and interchangeably. And doing that can be problematic because it creates a huge barrier to successfully achieving and reaching our diversity and inclusion goals. So, before I talk about the difference, I think it's important to point out that the goal of both equality and equity is exactly the same, and that goal is fairness. So, our society, we really, I would say, strive to treat people equally, and fairness is really, really important. And we have been taught that treating people differently can lead to discrimination. But I don't think that we think enough about the fact that sometimes treating people equally can also lead to discrimination. So, with that being said, let's look at the concept of equality. So, equality is about sameness, and it means it promotes fairness and justice by giving everyone the same thing. And that sounds great, but the problem with equality is that not everybody starts from the same place. If you look at an industry like higher education, the one that I work in, we have a diverse array of students that come to us from different experiences and backgrounds and opportunities and levels of preparedness. So if we give the same exact time and resources to every one of our students, we're not going to do anything with closing that achievement gap that we have been working on in higher education for decades. In the workplace, people also don't start from the same exact places. For example, females have not always even existed in corporate America. They've also had to fight for their right to, one, go to college and to graduate from college. They have oftentimes, as a group, been overlooked for receiving promotions early on in their career. And even to this day, they don't have equal pay when compared to their male counterparts. So, if today we give men and women the exact same opportunities, both groups are going to get ahead and both groups are going to do better. But men are still going to have the advantage in the workplace because they started off with more privileges and benefits when compared to their female coworkers. So women are going to get more resources, which is always a good thing, but they're still going to lag behind men because men had a huge head start in regards to representation and recognition in the workplace. And we're really not going to see anything happen with decreasing gender inequality in the workplace if we have this strategy of treating everyone exactly the same. So that's a little bit about equality. I want to move on to the concept of equity. So, equity is about fairness, and it means giving people what they need to be successful, even if it means giving less to those who come from more and more to those who come from less in order to level the playing field. So, equity really requires a redistribution of access and opportunity and resources. And if we look at something like the achievement gap, if we give the exact same resources to underachieving school districts that have less resources, as the ones that have already benefited from well funding and lots of resources, then we're not going to see any change. What we need to do is we need to give more resources like teacher pay, expenditures per pupil, and also maybe increased AP classes to the under-resourced schools so that those school districts can catch up and achieve at similar levels as the ones that have already traditionally and historically been achieving. So, if you look at the example of women in the workplace, this means acknowledging that there is an uneven starting place in the workplace for females. And it means giving more time and giving more resources to those women so that they can develop themselves professionally, so that the realities that disadvantage women in the workplace today, like the lack of representation of females in leadership and management positions, and the gender, inequalities in terms of pay, can be diminished. And inclusion strategies such as employee resource groups, mentoring, and implicit bias training that's focused on gender, and also strengthen maternity and even paternity leave policies can really help to lead to greater gender equity in the workplace. So, this concept of equity, I'm very well aware, is not always an easy pill for everybody to swallow. Many times, especially for people in positions of power and privilege, equity can feel like oppression or reverse discrimination. And this is especially true if we don't take the time to understand history and the role that history has played in creating inequalities for certain subordinate identity groups in this country. And the truth is that equity is really the process of balancing out the imbalances that have been created through policies and systemic discrimination that has historically disadvantaged some identity groups while advantaging others. And in order for us to really buy into this process of equity, not only do we have to, one, understand the history of inequalities in this country, but we also have to demonstrate a selflessness and be committed and invested in the success of other people from different social and cultural identity groups. So if we sincerely care about treating people equal, then we have to embrace the concept of equity, because we can't work to make our workplaces and our organizations inclusive and equitable and equal, until we put equity at the forefront of our diversity initiatives and conversations. So that's all I have to say about the difference between the concepts of equity and equality. If you have any questions, please let me know, and visit shaktitraining.com for more information. Thank you.